It's never asked me to confirm that before. Now the transcript is going to repeat all of this. Right. Hello, everybody. Those of you that don't know me, I'm Jane Glassy. So I am the SEND lead for the early years team. Today, in case you're in the wrong place, we're talking about supporting parents in the early years around SEND. So we've got fabulous Solihull Parent Carer Voice. They're going to come and talk to us a little bit about what they do and give you some ideas around what support you can have for parents. Then Peter's going to do a little bit around dads and the importance of dads and involving dads. And then I'm going to do the practical bit at the end, which is just a real practical guide on difficult conversations and the sort of things you need to do for difficult conversations. So I'm going to hand over and just say, are you okay if I just do this and hand over and set you off to start talking around parent care and voice, what you do, and some practical ideas? One of the things we talked about was some getting the parents' perspective on what it's like to have those SEND conversations. So off you go, if that's all right. You want to introduce yourself and have the chat?
Thanks, Jane. Well, I was going to say morning. It's not morning. It's definitely not still morning. Afternoon, everybody. My name's Heather. I'm from Solihull Parent Carer Voice. You might see in the background. I'm just going to move this. They're going to hate me in a minute. It's Claire and Tracy in the background. Unusual for actually three of us to be in an office. Claire and Tracy are normally in schools. So we are the Parent Carer Forum for Solihull. So we are funded by the Department for Education to gather the views and voices of families of children and young people with special needs, and to use those voices to work together with the local authority, with education, with health and with social care to try and improve services, and most importantly, improve experiences and outcomes for children and young people. So we will spend a lot of our time talking to families that you come across. And I think the important thing really for us is obviously as early years providers, your families are very, very new and very early on their journey around special needs. So their knowledge of what might be around can be new. They may not know a lot about the way the system works. We always say that learning about special needs and all the things that you hear and come across as a parent, it's like learning a whole new language. And a lot of parents will end up learning an awful lot about the way education works and about the law, not things that you expect to learn when you become a parent. So early on in the journey, it can be really difficult. You've probably all seen, I think everybody in the world's seen the poem about where you planning to go on holiday and you end up in a different country. It definitely does feel a bit like that as a special needs parent. So I think really, and I know obviously you're going to come on have a conversation later about difficult conversations. Those initial conversations, if you're identifying that a child might have special needs, are really, really important because they set the whole tone to a parent's journey. And even likewise, if a parent's approaching you saying, I think my child's got special needs, what do you think? Again, it does set the whole tone to a family's journey and just the beginning of that conversation. And relationships. One of the things that we work really hard on here is about relationships between parents and settings. It's actually what Claire and Tracy do, which is why they're normally in schools. They do school engagement work, which, you know, we have absolutely no qualms about offering out to early years providers as well. And that's about bringing parents and the setting together and helping alongside that journey. We also do a children and young people's forum. Don't think we've quite hit early years yet in that, but you know, little ones are able to give their voices as well. They are going to kill me because it's all the work that they're actually doing. So I'm going to get absolutely throttled later on. And they're laughing at me in the background. So we always say it's really, really important to hear from a child, and it doesn't matter how old a child is, they can still give you their opinion, even if they're telling you that they like the colour blue as opposed to any other colour. it's really important really early on for a child to be able to have their view and to have it listened to. And even if it's not really something that actually is going to make a difference in their education, you know, I mean, is them liking the colour blue going to make a difference? Probably not. But it's about empowering children and young people and empowering families to be able to say, this is what we think, this is what we want, and particularly for a child, this is what I need, this is my opinion, this is what I want for my future. So we do that work as well. Things that we can help you with is we're always here, we're always at the end of an email. I'm always at the end of the phone. Most people in Solihull have my phone number, I think, don't they, Jane? You know, yeah, she's nodding. You know, always here, always happy to talk through anything with you guys. Most of our team are trained in SEND law, so we're always happy to sit and help a family, to give them some advice, to help signpost them, and to help talk to them about where they can go to for help and support. And then we also have monthly coffee mornings that are open to any family. We put them around the borough so that they're in different locations for accessibility for families. And they are advertised on our social media, they're advertised on our website, and they're just there for any family that they can come, they can talk to us, they can meet other families, so that it's about reducing that sense of isolation. And again, you know, we're always happy to answer questions, both from families and from people in settings and schools. Is there anything else that you want me to talk about, Jane?
I mean, I'm happy for anybody, if anybody's got any questions. I think the coffee mornings is a really useful one, because I think you're right, that isolation. And I think when you're very new to the SEND world, I think just being able to go and see other people and meet other people. So if you could, I don't know if you've got anything you can drop into the chat around how people access that, links to your websites or your social media, so that we've got that. That would be really useful. Has anybody got any more questions around what happens? Genuinely, I think that, you know, what we need is we need someone that can talk to these parents in the very beginning, that's going to be positive and going to have a safe message and a positive message, and that it's going to be a message that is encouraging working in collaboration with education. And I think if we can signpost that's brilliant. I can see it dropping into the chat, so that's fabulous. And I think that's why it's really important that we do signpost people to the Solihull Parent Care Voice. I've got a hand up, but I can't see.
It's me again, Jane. Sorry. Oh yeah, I was just going to say, a lot of our parents go on to Facebook groups and online support groups. We never discourage parents from doing that, but a word of caution that some of the information and advice on those groups is not correct. I mean, we've had 3 or 4 instances only this morning where people are giving advice and it's just not legally accurate. And giving the wrong names of people to go to for support. We've had one where somebody said you have to have a diagnosis for an EHC plan, which obviously isn't the truth. What information has to be on the council's local offer, and it just sometimes can set parents up to fail. So I would always try and encourage parents, if they want information about the law or how to access things, that they either look on the local offer, they go to Sendias, or they come to us. And those would always be the 3 things that I would really urge you guys to recommend to families, because unfortunately, sometimes support groups don't always get it right, and quite a lot of the time, particularly at the moment, the messaging is quite negative because there's lots of worry about what changes the government might bring. So there's lots of, you know, oh, you need to go and get an EHC plan now, because if you don't get one now, you won't be able to get one because they're going to take them away. Lots of scaremongering going on at the moment because people are quite frankly frightened about their children's access to education as they grow up. So I would really suggest that if you're advising parents, that you advise them to go, you know, to places where you know that they're going to get the right information and the right support. And unfortunately, at the minute, that's not necessarily support groups.
I mean, one of the things I've talked about the support groups, rightly or wrongly, if everything's going really well for you, if everything's happy and you're having a really good time with education, very often you don't continue in the support group. If things are going badly, and I'm going to be realistic, sometimes things are going badly, you are more likely to spend time in a parent support group. And I'm not saying that everybody in the parent support group is having a bad time, but often there's more. So you get a false impression of how badly things can go. Because if you go into the support group and everybody's having a terrible time, you think this is never going to work. I'm never going to have that positive experience. And I think it is really important that, where we recognise things don't always go perfectly, but actually sometimes it does, and we want them to have equal access to the parents where they go, actually some of the things that have happened have been great and some of the support we've had has been great. So I think that's very much what I mean. You said it in a much better way than me when I said it. We want them to have that positive message. We want them to hear that you can work together as a team. So that's Solihull Parent Care Voice. I'm really grateful for you to come. You're more than welcome to stay and listen to the rest if you want to. I'm going to pass over now to Peter. Peter has been part of our team for quite a short time, but he's doing a project talking about the local offer. At the moment, we're trying to update the local offer. We're coming across lots of IT issues that's sort of delaying it, but one of the things we're trying to do is make sure that it's much better quality for supporting parents with a much better information. And one of the things Peter's been looking at is working to make sure that dads are very much involved as well as mums, which it can tend to be. So dad is going to do some. Peter's going to come and do a little bit of a talk with us now around the importance of fathers, if that's okay. Off you go, Peter.
Thank you, Jane. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. Hello again to my team. I'm Peter. I work in the early years team with Jane and a few others present today. So I'm an inclusion support practitioner where I go into the homes and help transition into schools, essentially, just making sure that strategies and information is passed on and just working with the children, really. So obviously, as what Jane said, she's tasked me with a small project where I have to I'm looking at the benefits and the impact of dads, and then obviously adding that to the local offer as when that comes available. So I'll just share my screen. Is everybody able to see that?
Oh, yes. I was about to say not yet, but yeah, it's there now.
Yeah, we're good. Fantastic. Yeah. Super. Okay. So positive impact of fathers and families of children with special educational needs. So we're just going to talk a little bit about what that positivity looks like and what it means in the broader family unit. So aiming to discuss the crucial roles fathers play in families, to be honest, where a child has SEN and how the services and attitudes can possibly better support this. Obviously, there's lots of great practice out there, but obviously there's also practice which probably could be fine-tuned. I think thinking about the contributions that fathers can provide given certain gender roles that might be in individual families and their responsibilities in the household. Lived experiences and prejudices, personal experiences which you might hold on to consciously or subconsciously perhaps, and considering your own assumptions, an advocacy of inclusive family support strategies. So inclusion is a positive step for the development of any system, obviously, and what it might look like. And possibly if you do have any yourself as well, obviously this is sort of a group collective. So role of fathers in broader context. Fathers today are increasingly taking active caregiving roles. This is obviously a lot of things are brought from my own research as nationally as well as locally, but supports well-rounded child development. Diverse caregiving styles can enhance a child's adaptability, which is something in the SEN sphere children can find difficult, as we all know. There's been a shift towards engaged fatherhood, really, with access to funding. Parents can work, some parents can, some parents can't, obviously with the additional funding coming in September as well. Gender equality, where fathers are now able to make a more prominent contribution to home life and the parenting of their children, whereas in the past maybe they might have been taken a bit for granted, and on the roles of stereotypical breadwinner, for instance, so that they might have been at work or classed as not having the right traits to help or do anything aid in the raising of children. And then fathers, where the trend can always be is always developing and changing, and it's different with each family. Obviously, given their individual circumstances, that's always very, very important to remember. And with the sharing of the caregiving role, it'll be quite diverse. Those people who work on sort of front line in schools will know interactions with parents and fathers. Obviously, myself as well. It can be very, very different. So having more of an opportunity to be part of the family unit and present in the early life of children, like, allows the building of role models and different perspectives that might not already be there, and be that of whatever age, of course. But in those in the know, we're aware that EYFS is where the magic happens, essentially. So it's a little bit what Heather was saying earlier on about the start of their journey is important. Again, in early years, if they're starting early with SEN, then they need to have the right attitude and perspective to go from, not just for the mom or one parent, ideally of both. So fathers and emotional support, they often can serve as emotional anchors, helping family navigate stress and uncertainty at times. Fathers' emotional resilience can also model effective coping strategies just as much as the mothers, of course. Providing this additional presence can help stability and emotional regulation of the family as a whole, supporting not only for children with SEN, but also for the partner, which I'll talk about afterwards a little bit more. But parents of SEN children can also have unaddressed needs of their own, which is really important to remember. Me working with parents in the home, you often come to realise that parents do need the support as well. So be that of an SEN nature. And then modelling with both parents working together, obviously, it offers a chance to show strategies in action, how to calm, how to deal with challenging situations, take risks, and use social skills in different at different times, essentially. So impact on children with SEN. So children benefit directly from an engaged father through emotional support, as I've said, routine enforcement and developmental encouragement. It's noted in lots of things that I've read as well that engaged fathers boost SEMH outcomes by doing the reinforcing and building confidence and independence. So with challenges that SEN children face, positive outcomes are always the goal, as much as possible. That's why I've put boost social and emotional outcomes there. Extra presence can help stabilise much needed routines for children, setting boundaries and showing consistency in approaches. So that's including any strategies that we as professionals have sent home or might suggest in various ways. And then thinking about the self-esteem of the child, we want SEN children to be independent as much as they possibly can be. And many of these things that I've spoke about provide the stage for that to happen. Impact on siblings as well. So not just the child that might have SEN, that one child family, but obviously if they have siblings, it's a whole other arena to play in. So where fathers are involved, siblings can often experience more balanced attention, which fosters emotional well-being as well. So reducing stress is not something that anybody needs in their life. I'm sure we can all agree as educators, and certainly as something with any household with SEN needs. So not all households have siblings, of course. But the shared caregiving of fathers in the home can change the dynamic and alleviate some of the pressures that might be in a single parent home, one would hope. Promotes, we think about parents falling into categories or even place themselves in categories. You hear it in colloquial talks and discussions, anecdotes, as a strict parent or the fun parent. But having the option to do this wherever they choose, or for the development of the empathy of the other people, including the siblings of the children with SEN, that might sometimes and occasionally see themselves as sidelined. So something else to think about there along those lines. Strengthening family cohesion is something, again, we all strive for, and where it's true that some families may benefit more from not having a father parent present in the home, that's just how it happens. Variation of families that we deal with. Research leads us to believe that when engaged, the fathers can fortify this consistency of all the children in the home, and as much as we try to do it in school, so all the work we do in school can be promoted at home just as well. And then also as well, the side effects reduce resentment of any other children in the home that might feel that that child with SEN in their home gets a little bit more attention than they do. As children, that these are the things that they feel, and then it promotes the shared activities that they might do in the home, having the availability of another adult or another perspective in the home. The fathers advocates and problem solvers, so can be powerful advocates contributing to decision making in accessing resources. So the research says that fathers' involvement in SEN meetings can actually lead to more effective support plans, and plans, any ideas as well that might engage the child when at school and at home. So active in SEN meetings and plans where mum or one parent is unable to voice a concern, I often find that sometimes during the meetings, if mum might be little bit anxious or a bit unsure, having that emotional support from a partner and availability can offer additional insights, like almost like an untapped resource during meetings that I've experienced myself. You may have done these. Hopefully you do experience these yourself. Um, Collaboration. Two heads are better than one. We all know this isn't always the case, as much as we'd like it to be. But on balance, as a professional who works with SEN children, I would always want as many angles as I possibly could take when writing plans, having ideas, developing strategies with each child as much as I could. It just makes sense. And help opportunities to utilise the support that fathers can bring by signposting, providing reminders, and the sharing of information with other family members as well as mum. So couple relationships, a strong couple dynamic contributes to a healthy family atmosphere and improved outcomes for the child. So sharing, as much as I mentioned before about the caregiving, but this is specific to the mom, specifically to that other parent, reducing parental burnout. I mean, I've experienced it way too many times to count. For those of you who are parents, I'm sure that you've probably experienced that. Like, it can be rife with families who have SEN children, and I see it more often than I care to admit. Sometimes in some of the families that I go out and visit and help. So obviously, and in school when you see it, improving lightening the load. Some obviously we tend to feel. I felt an immense amount of parental guilt when my children they had SEN, and it's okay to not have the answer straight away. So it to lighten that load. So barriers to father involvement. Obviously, fathers can face barriers, and recognising and addressing them is always key to the encouraging involvement. So barriers such as traditional gender roles, primary breadwinners, as I said, not caregivers, discourage fathers from taking an active role. So for them finding their own way, where as some fathers themselves obviously may think, okay, I'll leave that to mum. But also as I said, there's a big shift that we need to be aware of as well. So work-life balance issues and limited inclusive practices can significantly affect further engagement, whereas the traditional gender roles, being less emotionally available or capable, possibly, of providing emotional support, especially to SEN children, being backup parents, helpers. School forms, in some cases, provide a little bit of a barrier where mum, where it says primary contact, or it just says mom or not dad at all, or just one box. What does this mean if for a father to see that, or if they're handing over the forms? Cultural norms are something to think of. Some cultures obviously predominantly require the father to have all that information given over. Competence in managing daily routines, a built-in bias almost from certain practitioners who give father sort of information to pass on. And they can be presumed disengaged with school matters, which does happen, of course. There's those are just the facts. But as I say, being aware of them might help those group of individuals who might think that I want to be part of this. And obviously, I myself have received like first-hand impressions, and they do count, and they can be lasting, as well as with the relationship with the school. And then with work, historically, parental involvement has been reduced because of work demands. And then with limited father inclusive practices, getting fathers into the school conversation, and then just ask, maybe consider your own assumptions when you're writing reports or when you're asking things of parents. So strategies to encourage father engagement. Um, they can help fathers feel more welcomed and valued just as much as any other parent. So use considerations like when discussing on your phone, is it you or dad who will be coming, or is, who should I give it to, you or dad? Just by mentioning the name promotes the importance of it. People who help us topic, for instance, fathers building in a father's part of that, just as an idea, putting that in the people who help us topic might promote that in school. Offer being aware of meeting times, possible, what you can do to ensure they're accessible as they can be. So that might just be a Teams invite link sent out that they can watch on their phone if they can't attend, or being part of an email thread perhaps, so they've got all the information together. And then a small one as well, Class Dojo, where you can have Class Dojo groups, which could be yourself as a practitioner, mom and dad. So again, everybody's kept in the loop just to make sure that fathers are engaged as much as they can be. Possibly create a network for dads in your school if you don't already have one, if they wish to do so. So discussion for dads to be aware of input is valued in the school too. So just to put that out there. Celebrate actively involved fathers in school, not just on Father's Day. So that might be another option to have around school, but also building in of school community, the school community around the school. So offering outreach, charities, and potential sponsors. It could have a massive benefit for your school, to be fair. Obviously, a lot of dads work in construction, they work in offices. These might be links we might not be accessing. So key summary and messages, really. I hope I've managed to relay some of the key issues that I've found as far as possible positive outcomes for the involvement of fathers in school and the SEN sphere, especially where practices and strategies can be modelled, delivered and explored in the home. Having this engaged presence in the home can hopefully highlight some of the importance of these practices and outcomes to the whole family, and provide much needed consistency and motivation needed for just to be ambitious for the children, obviously, as much as we can be. And then services should be actively included in them, should take steps to involve both parents as much as possible. I mean, why not? And you get the maximum effect of your efforts. So if it's yourself, your teachers, any support staff, or any of the professionals you might buy into, have come visit the school. So just making sure that you're not shortchanging yourselves in your efforts, or any of the professionals, or more importantly, the children that you're working with, by not accessing a vital influence in their lives. I've added a further reading, just some of the things where I've got a few of my information from for research. And then also, if you'd like to send any experiences you have with father involvement in your context, through plans or any plus ways, or maybe some barriers that you've come up against, thinking, oh, this isn't working, anything like that maybe we can put together to possibly start something or to add to the local offer, I'd really appreciate that. That's just a bit of myself saying that for my own work, so shameless plug for sure. So yes, that's everything from me. So I hope that makes sense. If you've got any questions, obviously, please do let me know. Thank you very much.
Okay, Peter, if you stop sharing that, we'll see if anybody's got any questions around that. I think the important message here is, as professionals, it's really important that everybody that is involved with that child is listened to. And I think traditionally, and I know things are significantly better than they were when I was young and fresh and not as old and haggard as I am now, but I think traditionally it has been more difficult for fathers to feel engaged with education of their children. And I think we are significantly better. I know that when I used to drop my daughter to school, it was more unusual to see a dad dropping off, whereas now that's just common, normal. It's not looked at in any, different way. And I think more involvement we can have of all parents. I want to say very strongly here, it's not about having a dad in the home is better than being a single parent. Having an engaged dad or an engaged partner is what is important. I definitely feel that having somebody else, whoever that is, to support you as a parent is never a bad thing. So I'm sort of there. I'm not seeing any questions coming up. Anybody got anything they want to say about that?
Jane just popped through.
There is somebody that's popped something up. Is that what would you do if the father does not agree with the mother? I mean, at the end of the day, so the question is, what would you do if the father doesn't agree that the SEN there and that you wouldn't, they don't want to be involved because they don't agree? If a parent has parental rights, the father has parental rights and the mother has parental rights, they have equal say in this about whether, what they want for their child. And actually, some of that is up to the children, the family to have that conversation, and to sort of come back with you if they're separated, because it can be difficult. Whoever's the primary caregiver really probably gets the say, legally speaking. But if a father has parental rights, and they have the rights again to be heard and to be listened to, if they don't want to be involved, if any parent doesn't want to be involved in the meeting, we can't march them in and make them be. We would like them to be. I would guess that if the dad feels listened to, he's more likely to attend. It might not necessarily say the same things. Sometimes I've certainly in the past had 2 separate meetings, so I've got everybody's opinion, because that parent has an opinion as much as the other parent. And I think it's really important that they feel listened to, even if what they want to do is say, here's my reasonings why I believe this, because they'll have a logic, they'll have a reason why they believe that what they're saying. And I think the best thing you can do is let them feel listened to, and then be honest and have the conversation around why you believe the child has got SEN and what your evidence around that. And I'm assuming that you will have done assessments, I'm assuming that you'll have done observations, I'm assuming you'll have some reasons around why you think that's there. And all you can do is present that in a sympathetic way, not in a, you're wrong way and I'm going to prove you wrong. But equally, if the dad doesn't choose to be involved, same as if a mom doesn't choose to be involved, we can't make them. We can encourage, we can be receptive, we can be accessible, we can be all the things we want to be, but there will always be parents out there that I've certainly got, the parents that aren't ready yet, haven't accepted the SEN. I don't know if that answers your question. Who was it that put it? Is it Sophie? I don't know if that answers your question. Do you want to ask any more, or are you happy with that? You can just wave at me if you want to say that's okay. I'll just put a thumbs up or a. But I'm happy to talk to you a little bit more around that one. It's a difficult one. Thumbs up's flashing on the screen, perfect. But I don't know who your area SENCO is, but I'd have a chat with them as well. That might help you. Right, I'm going to be the boring practical one here now, because I'm not going to have done the person that's done all the research. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk as a SENCO. Difficult conversations is part of the job. So I'm going to share, if I can work out how to do it. See what I'm going to share today. Oh dear. Why is it not doing it today? Oh, I seem to have got a little problem. But the bit I usually normally share on doesn't seem to be there. That's interesting. Oh, sorry, everybody. Bear with me for a second while I just have a slight crisis. because normally there's a little arrow thing that says share. It was just hiding. It was the screen view. There we go, found it. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to share my PowerPoint for you. Slideshow. Come on, you know you want to. You have to bear with us with IT. We do our best, but it's always very slow. Everything happens much slower than you'd like it to. It doesn't want to do slideshow today, so I might have to do it on this mode. Right, okay, we'll do it this way. Can you see that? Anybody want to wave at me to say, yeah, I've seen a thumbs up. Right, okay. So we all of us have to have these difficult conversations. We've all been in the position where we've dreaded a conversation, where we know we've got to have it. We know we've got to have the conversation with a parent or a colleague, or something's coming up that we've got to, and we dread that conversation. Difficult conversations are part of life, but also it's very much part of being a SENCO. If you look at the guides on what an early years SENCO is, one of the main responsibilities of the SENCO is supporting parents and having those conversations with parents. It is your job. It's part of what you do. There are lots of different types of difficult conversations. So if you were a manager, there might be other difficult conversations. And if you're responsible for safeguarding, but the sort of ones you're going to be having as SENCO are some of the ones here. So, it is around things like behaviour concerns. That's always a difficult one, because if you want to go in and talk to a parent, it's really easy for you to come across saying that, your child's not very nice. It's not what we want to say, is it? It's not the child that's not very nice. There's some of the behaviours might not be. So we're talking about those very first concerns about when you're saying that there might be a learning difficulty, there might be developmental delay, or there might be health concerns, medical concerns. And as I say, you are in this really privileged position that you are often the very first people in education that these parents are coming up against. Against is the wrong word, but they're coming across. And actually, I think it was said earlier, and I'm a passionate believer that we really can start those relationships well. I would say the most important thing is that we remember that everybody's an individual. So we just talked about dads, but all dads are different. We talk about mums, all mums are different, all families are different, all different dynamics are different. So the most important thing you can do, and this is stating the obvious, but if you are thinking about difficult conversations you've got to have, is remember that because everybody's different, everybody's also in a different place in this journey. And actually, the most important thing you can do is listen. So often what we want to do when we're having these difficult conversations is we want to get our message across. We've got something we've got to tell you about. We need to point this out to you, and we're going to have this conversation with you. But often it's not a conversation with them. It's we're going to tell you this. And I think listening is the most important thing you can do, is try and have that conversation where you're in that room, but you're in that room to listen. And you might be setting the context of what the conversation you want to happen is. But actually, sometimes the conversation then goes off in a very different direction. So knowing that family, understanding who they are, where they are in their journey, and what they're ready to hear. So, oops, sorry about that. So the first thing I'm going to say to you is, please be prepared. If you've got the gut instinct that this conversation might be a difficult conversation for you or for them, because sometimes you might not think it's going to be difficult for you, but it might be that you're sitting there thinking, oh, mum's going to find this difficult when I arrange this meeting and have this conversation, or dad's going to really struggle to accept this because at the moment he's not feeling there is SEN going on. So be prepared, and being prepared, a lot of the things I'm going to talk about later, I'll talk about how you prepare, but the most important thing about being prepared is to really think about what you're going to say, how you're going to say it, and what information you need for that meeting. Do not go into a meeting unprepared. Do not go into a meeting thinking, oh, I've got to talk to them something about behaviour. Oh, I can't remember what was I going to say to them. Oh, something happened last week, wasn't it? What was it? I can't remember. You need to be prepared, because actually it might not be triggering for you, but if it's going to be triggering for a parent, they're going to want to know that you know what you're talking about, you've got the answers, that you've spoken to everybody concerned, that this isn't something you're going to have to go away and find out more about because you'd have already done that. I'll talk more about some of the other things about, you know, if you've got examples, you've thought things through. But take your time and be prepared. Create the comfortable setting. Please don't underestimate this. The number of parents I've spoken to that have literally been got at the end of the day in the playground with other parents present, where they then wanted to have a conversation that parent has found really difficult, but they're having that conversation around lots of other parents. It's not appropriate. It's not right. It's not right for you either, because how can you make sure you're doing this well? Have the conversation planned, but also have the place planned. Talk to them. Make sure it's mutually convenient for them. The other thing is, often we go, I need to speak to you on Thursday at 9 o'clock. The parent isn't often going to go, I can't possibly come and see you at 9 o'clock because I'm at work. Sometimes they're like, oh, I'll have to leave work to come and do this. It's obviously important. I'm really worried about what they're going to say. Whereas if you said to them, look, is there a time that's best for you? Can we do this? The other thing to remember about booking things in advance is please don't leave them with that fear response of, you know, I personally, with my ADHD brain, will go, if somebody said to me, I need to talk to you, until I've spoken to them, I will be convinced it's the world's worst thing and I'm about to be sacked, or, you know, I've done something terrible to offend them. So give them a flavour of what you're going to talk about. Don't just say, I need to talk to you, because a lot of parents, and I'm one of that would be included, would be then spending the whole time thinking, what's the terrible thing that's going to have happened? Why are they calling me in? They're going to do all these terrible things and say these terrible things. And so plan it in advance, but also give them a little bit. The other thing about a safe place is really think about maybe a note on the door, because the number of meetings I've been in where somebody then has knocked on the door and go, can I just come and get me lunch? While mom's crying or dad's really upset or whatever's happened is happened. And I get that that person might want their lunch and not realise what they're walking into. That's about us planning and making sure that we're thinking about that in advance. Start with positives. So you need to talk about positives. There's no good walking in. But I am also going to say, please don't be patronising on this one. This is really hard. I've had people do this to me, where they come in and they want to talk to me about something, and some maybe I've done that, you know, they want to talk about, but they try and think of something nice to say first, but it sounds so false. Can I just say you did this really well? Right, now let's go and talk about the fact that you didn't. Talk about the positive, but let's make it realistic. Let's be real. You know, false compliments. People know, you know, it's being realistic. Again, it's knowing your families, knowing the children, and actually having something. This is about preparation, having something that's real, that you want to talk to them about the positives. I challenge you to find anybody where there's not something lovely and positive to say about them. And again, if you're talking about the parent, it's talking and genuinely thinking about the fact that they are great in lots of ways, and it might be that they're struggling at this point to, I don't know, accept their child's SEN, or it might be that they're struggling at the moment with engaging in taking their child to one of the SEN services that you feel should be involved. But it's around being positive around what they do and what is good and what is working. So I think start with a positive, with a caveat of saying, please try and make it real. This is the hard one. Right. Use clear and compassionate language. Sometimes there's a problem with both. So very often, lots of the parents I've worked with over the years, they've reached a point where, I don't know, something has got escalated and almost the child is being sent home or excluded from a school, or there's something really serious has happened, and the parent will say to me, but they've never said there was a problem before. This is the first I've heard of it. And then the school will say to me, I've spoken to lots of times. As schools and often nurseries, and we're programmed to be positive. So we're often, oh, it's had a lovely day today. And sometimes we say these things, even though actually what's really happened is there's been quite a few incidents. But we don't want to say that to the parent every single day. It's really important that we don't catch them at the end of the school day, every single day, and go, oh, we've had another 4 incidents today. So there's a balance between being really clear and being really honest when you're talking to a parent about actually what is happening, but also being empathetic and making sure that what we're not doing is just offloading onto the parent lots of terrible things that happened. And it's around wording. This example, I didn't write this example. So sometimes being empathetic and using compassionate language can make it seem like it's not as serious as it is. So I've noticed your child's been having difficulty following the classroom rules. It is right, it is accurate, and it's compassionate. But does that really explain exactly what your child's been doing? If your child's been, every time you say, I need you to come and sit down, they've been throwing things around the room and, you know, attacking other children, that's probably not enough. But it's still compassionate to say it that way. You're saying it in the way that your child's struggling here. So the compassion bit is your child's struggling here, but you still need to be clear and accurate about what's happening, because otherwise a parent might be blindsided later on when you say we can't manage this behaviour, we need to do something more serious about this, because actually what they've heard is positives all along. Specific examples is, there we go, that's the next bit, isn't it? It's making sure, and this is part of your preparation, having specific examples. Let's help parents really understand what the issue is. We don't want to misunderstand. We need to talk about what actually is happening, what actually you're discussing, so that they can really understand what's happening. Please, I don't think anybody in this room would ever say Johnny's been naughty and a bully. It's not how we would talk about children, but it is around talking about what actually happened and describing the events, so they understand and they get the full picture. But it's not about judgment, it's about helping people understand. So, you know, it's positive examples as well, and it's also using the language to talk about what happened in a non-judgmental way. So we're describing it, we're not ascribing emotions. So, you know, a child hit somebody is different than saying he was really angry and tried to hurt him, because that's different, isn't it? We don't know what he was trying to do, and it's ascribing intention or emotions to other people. That's not a helpful way of discussing things. It's just describe the situation. I'm back to me listening again, but it's so true. I'm possibly guilty of this one, that I'm not very good at active listening, because when somebody's telling me something, I'm the person that's actively trying to think about how to solve that problem, or what my response is going to be, or how I'm going to explain to them the next part of the, you know, I jumped ahead in the conversation, and I think it's really hard. It's a skill. And I think as a skill, it's something we need to practice. But active listening is probably your best tool to actually, you know, I'm quite good at the nodding, but sometimes my brain isn't there. Sometimes and you know, it's being aware, sometimes being aware that this is something that you're doing. So sometimes I have to be aware and pull myself back and go, Jane, stop it. They actually listen to what they're saying and stop trying to think of the next thing or how to fix this as a problem. My daughter calls me a fixer. She says that's your problem. You don't sit there and listen. You try and fix everything. I think it's something to do with the job I've had over years, that people want solutions. So I'm always trying to look for a solution. But sometimes it's not about a solution. It's about genuinely listening to people's perspective and what's happening. I do think using the strategy of I hear you, you know, I hear what you're saying, and repeating back, because actually that stops me jumping in with a solution. So actually repeating it back makes me genuinely not go straight to my next point. I need to be able to say, no, I am listening to what you've said. And I think everybody's, there's no, I don't often think we think that we've gone into a meeting with an agenda of what we need to talk about. And yeah, there are certain things, but sometimes your agenda is different than perhaps the parents' agenda. And we need to have an equal weight to both of them. Hopefully this goes without saying, but actually sometimes it's difficult. If parents' emotions are high, sometimes you do feel, as a professional, you feel personally attacked. I know I have again. There's certainly been meetings I've gone into where I feel my professional knowledge or my professional, understanding has been questioned or attacked, or I've certainly had parents that have shouted at me. I've had parents that have been abusive. But they're in an emotional situation. This is their child. And actually, as professionals, we've got to remain the professional. And I think it's really, really important that if you have empathy for where that parent is, it's much easier to understand why they're upset or why they're frustrated or angry. And we've got to remain that person that can stay calm in these situations. But it's also okay that if you're finding that difficult, it is okay to say, I'm hearing you're frustrated, I'm hearing you're upset. Maybe we take a little pause. We're not going to stop, but we'll take a pause. We'll calm down. Maybe we'll come back to it in a short time or in a few days' time, where we've both had chance to calm down. So sometimes stepping away from the situation. Definitely believe that assertive is very different than confrontational. So assertive can be, I'm hearing what you're saying, but this is the situation. So you're not attacking them personally. You're just explaining, I hear what you're saying. This is the situation at the moment. And to say that in a really calm way. I hear that you're upset. I hear that this is what the situation is. But I think it's really important that you, again, take some time to prepare. If you think that a parent is going to be upset by something, it's being ready for that and being ready to understand that it's not personal and it's not you, because often the message isn't, it's not coming from you as a person, it's coming from you as a profession. And I think you've got to then try and take that, depersonalize it, but also be prepared to have that emotional support for them. If you know that what you're going to say is going to be difficult, what have you planned to make sure that you support that? And I think that's very much the next little bit. When you're planning, what we sometimes do is we go into a meeting because we've got to tell them that this child has got SEN, or that we are concerned about the child's behaviour, or there's things that they want us to do that we feel we can't at this point, or whatever the difficult message is going to be. But what we haven't thought about is we've dropped this bomb, we've had this conversation. So what's next? What's next for that parent? Because that parent's been delivered this information. So what is next? What resources, what support is out there? What else can this parent then do with this information? And I think that's about you being prepared to have done that research and have it there for them. It's about making sure that they see that this isn't a one-off message as well. This is, I'm having this conversation with you and I want you to have some time, but I need you to come back afterwards and speak to me again. What are we going to do as a team? How are we going to manage? So I've spoken to you about Freddie's behaviour in setting. So as a team, now we're going to move forward. This is not a, here it is, mum, here it is, dad, off you go, do something about it. This is we're a team. And I think you having some strategies, some ideas, some plan, having a plan means that you're not just throwing it out to the parent and then leaving them with that information. And I think you actually spending some time making sure you've got that plan in place Not saying that you're not going to listen to their parts of the plan, that they can add to it, but it's not a blank piece of paper for them to fill in. Hope that makes sense. There you go. Follow up and maintain communication. That's a little bit what I think I've already talked about. It is really important that you schedule before they leave. You schedule the next time you're going to talk about this. You schedule when you're going to let them know. So if you're saying this is the issue, I'm going to try and speak to the early years team about this. Give them a timescale. When are you going to speak to the early years team? You know, when are you going to let them know what the outcome of that was? There's nothing worse than sitting here. What the parents' timescale might be, you're going to let me know later today. Your timescale might be, I know that I won't be able to contact Jane till next week because she's on holiday. Be honest and say, well, look, I might not be able to get that information for you for a week, but this is when, and if I don't get it by the end of the week, you need to contact them and say, look, there's been a delay. I am still on this. I'm definitely still going to do this. It's having those, keeping them informed and having that conversation builds trust. It builds that idea that we're working together as a team. I think minutes are really, really important. I think very often when you're in an emotional state, what is said and what you hear can be two different things. So I've certainly worked in situations where, and I've been the guilty party, and this is where somebody has said something, I've gone away and said, they said this, and they went, that's not what I said. But because I was emotional at that moment, what I heard was different. So taking some minutes and agree those minutes and say, does this reflect what you think we said? Does this reflect what you think we agreed? And genuinely also listen. If they say, no, that isn't what I think was said, you know, put their perspective in that minute. You don't have to say, I said something that you don't have to say, I agree, I said this when it isn't what you think you said. But it's important for you to put the both perspective in those minutes. But also that's an agreement then, a plan of what you're going to do, how you're going to move forward. And a difficult conversation needs a record. I don't mean copious notes. I don't mean you need to have a secretary sat in the corner with you, but just some notes. That's like saying, so what did we discuss? What did we agree to do? And what was the time scale of that? Oops. Come on. Seek the support. So that support might be at the planning stage. So if you know you're going to have a difficult conversation, talk to your area SENCO. That's our job, for us to come in and help you. So talk to us and say, oh, I'm really worried about having this conversation. Talk to us about why, what we can do, whether we can help you with that. Sometimes whether we can be present, not always. Please don't expect us to be at everyone with you, but you know, for those really new ones that you know, if you're a new SENCO and you've not done this before, maybe you need some help. Maybe you need to talk us through and practice it. Maybe you need to say, because if you say to me, this is what I thought I'm going to say, I might be able to say to you, well, if you say that, do you not think mum might think this or dad might think that? So just having that other person, do that with your managers, talk to your managers, have somebody else in your team with you. Try not to have lots and lots of people in the room, because it can feel a little bit like parents are being ganged up on if they come in and there's 14 professionals in the room, just them. Really think about that. It might be nice for you to have some support in the room, but equally it can be very difficult. Especially if it feels like that, it's that interview panel thing, isn't it? That you walk in and there's lots of people in the room. Yeah, it can be a bit intimidating. And the other thing I'm going to say to you is practice does help. You do get better at this, I hope. You'll always have bad days. You'll always have those conversations. You walk out and go, oh, I wish I'd done it different. I wish I'd said it better. But be kind to yourself, because as long as you are trying your best, as long as you are trying to plan, trying to make sure that you're being empathetic, thinking about, we're all human, and there's going to be certain parents that, relationship wise, you're not going to get on with as well as other parents, because that's just the reality. But as long as you're trying your best and you're trying your best to be empathetic, I think it comes across. And I think if you can be kind to yourself as well and go, yeah, I'm a bit new to this. And also be upfront and say, I'm trying to get this right. And listen, say, hopefully how I've done this is been helpful for you. But, obviously let me know if there's something I can do better. That's another way of doing it. If you talk to people, they can very often say to you, oh, I found that quite difficult. And you have to go, yeah, okay, sorry, I'll try to change that. But be kind to yourself. You're doing the absolute best you can, because you wouldn't be in these roles if you weren't. I am going to stop sharing. And I'm going to go. That was it is a difficult one. I think it's difficult. Conversations are difficult by their very nature. It's difficult to get it right for everybody, and some of the things that I've suggested will help some of the people and it won't help others. I know as a manager you manage everybody differently. You have to learn that different people need different things from you as a manager, and I think that's also true of working with parents. So, anybody got any questions on that one? Been a quiet bunch today. It's not been the all earth inspiring and amazing of our. Oh, I know what I was going to do before I forget. Sarah, you had some interesting training that you emailed me about the other day that was around something similar to this, and my brain's just gone completely back. And I said, could you pop that into the
Yeah, it's through the LGA, so the Local Government Association, who are they provide support and resources to local councils on early years education and childcare, but they offer quite a few free webinars, so you can sign up. And they often record the webinars, so even if you can't make it, it's worth, because one of them is tomorrow. But they're also you could signpost them to parents. If you sign up, you'll get the links to the recordings then, and there might be things that you can signpost parents to. So the one tomorrow, and it's not necessarily SEND either, but a lot of it is relevant to children with SEND. The one tomorrow is called No More Tears, and it's supporting parents with easier drop-offs, so parents who are finding those transitions and transitioning children into settings difficult. I'm going to put the link in to the chats just now. There's also one I found which they have put the recording onto YouTube, which I'll put the link in now as well, which is about starting reception, and it's got quite a lot of handy advice in there for parents and settings as well for any of your children that are transitioning. So I'll pop both of those links into the chat for you, so if you're interested you can have a look.
Yeah, we've done a few in the past, but when this one came up about No More Tears, so about transitioning, it's something that as a parent I think is one of the hardest thing in the world, is to leave your child in a setting crying and upset. And very often we're doing that, understandably doing that. Oh, if you go they'll settle, if you go they'll settle. But actually sometimes that's really hard as a parent to do that. And a lot of our children with SEN, transition is the big difficulty, and sometimes they don't settle. So I think it's having that bit of training. I was like, oh, I wish I'd got that one sorted, so I will be watching that one. What was the other thing that I was going to talk about? Oh yes, the transition event, of course, transition. So the other thing I'm going to advertise to you is we've got coming up, people, my dates have just suddenly gone out of my head, sorry, I have sieve brain at the moment. Somebody will shout the dates to me in a moment. We have 2 transition events coming up in June, beginning of June, and
9th of June and the 12th of June.
Thank you, Julie. I knew somebody would help me out there,
9th
because
of
I
June
knew
for the North.
9th of June for the North, which is at Smith's Wood Primary School Nursery, and the 12th of June, which is the south of Solihull, and that is at Monk's Path. I don't know what they're calling it. Is it a family centre?
Yeah, it's upstairs in Monk's Path, Monkeys.
Yeah. Okay.
Family centre.
So what we're asking is as many people as again to come. We've had some really successful ones in the past where you come along and you all get that opportunity to talk transition. So you come along and you bring the children that you've got leaving you, or you come along with the list of children that are coming to you, and you get to speak to the people that have worked with them before. We've had our lists through. We get the reception lists, and it came today. So we are in the process of trying to look through the reception list to work out where all our children are going. We ask you those questions a lot, don't we? Where the children are going, so that we can support transition. But yeah, as many people that can come to that is really helpful. I've also just found out that the lady that works for SIS speech and language team, not the speech and language therapists, but the team that works in SIS for speech and language, she's going to come along and hopefully talk to you about trying to get more children referred to their team. They're having problems with late referrals on the grounds that there's no diagnosis happen early because there's no speech and language therapy at the moment. So they're going to come along and try and chat to people and advertise their team as well. We've hopefully had some health visitors come along. We've invited somebody from EPAS, which is the education service around come on, somebody remind me what EPAS stands for again, because it's education participation something. So it's the ones about children that are missing, the team that works with children that are missing education, either on part-time timetables or aren't in setting. So they're going to come along hopefully as well. So there's quite a few of us around for you to talk to as well. So if you can make that, and I get that it's difficult, but I'd be really grateful for many people as possible. I think that was all I had to catch up on. Julia's obviously just gone.
Sorry, I've just put a link into our web page where there's some information, just some paperwork around what you've just been talking about, working with parents and communicating with carers. There's just a few bits and bobs on that page if anybody wants to look at it.
Oh, and just talking about supporting that page, that I've just been working with a setting earlier, and we're talking about the charities that are on that page. So if you go onto the Soul Grid page, I think it's on the probably very similar to where Julia's should put the link. There's a list of Solihull and national charities that are really useful. So when you've got parents that are struggling, I don't know, for equipment, around toileting, around sleep, there's lots of other agencies on there, other charities that you can signpost to. So I would strongly suggest you have a look at there, because it's really helpful for you to pass on to parents. Right, I'm hoping that this was lovely, positive, how to support parents. Genuinely, we will have a better local offer soon. Yeah, she's put it in there. Perfect, thank you. We're going to have we are working really hard to improve our local offer, so that's going to be up and running soon. So hopefully there'll be much more support out there for parents. We're in the process of making lots of little short videos to support parents so that they're accessible. So watch this space. And any ideas you've got, generally I'm going to go back to what Peter says. If you've got information about getting dads involved in your setting, and you've got good practice you want to share, or if you want something for the local offer that you're thinking, that would be, our parents would really need this, let me know. All right, I'm going to let you all go. Thank you so much for coming. Those was a lovely people that always come. So thank you so much for coming, and I'm going to stop the recording now, because as soon as I do that, we're done. As soon as I can work out how to stop the recording. I do this every time. I'm very good at starting it, but I'm not very good at stopping it. There we go. Stop recording. Right, thank you very much.